I kicked my wife out on her birthday, and now my whole family thinks I'm a monster. But they don't know what I found on her old phone. My name is Michael Carter. I'm 38 years old. I own a small HVAC company outside Columbus, Ohio. I don't gamble. I don't party. I believe in paying bills on time and keeping my word. My dad used to say, be steady. Steady men don't lose. I tried to live by that. I married my wife, Emily, when I was 31. She was 29. Bright laugh. Organized. The kind of woman who mailed thank you cards without being reminded. We weren't loud. No drama. No police. No broken dishes. We were the couple people called solid. Last Saturday, I told her to pack a bag and get out of my house. It was her birthday. Now my mom won't answer my calls. My sister posted about men who abandon their wives. My brother-in-law texted me one word, monster. They don't know what I found on her old phone. We met at a 4th of July cookout. She spilled a drink on my shoes. I teased her. She laughed too hard. It was easy. That's the word I always used. Easy. We dated 2 years before I proposed. Nashville. Rooftop bar. Sunset. I paid cash for the ring. No debt. She cried when I asked. I remember thinking she looked certain about me. Our marriage felt steady. Joint checking for bills, separate savings. I handled investments. She handled schedules. We hosted holidays. Paid the mortgage early most months. We didn't have kids. Not for lack of trying. 3 years of doctor visits. Timed cycles. Quiet drives home. Unexplained infertility. That was the phrase. It sounded clinical. Clean. It wasn't. Emily took it hard. Baby showers made her disappear into bathrooms. Once, I found her staring at herself in the mirror. It's my fault, she whispered. It's not, I told her. I meant it. At least I thought I did. The distance came slowly. She started going to bed earlier. Phone angled away from me. A new gym membership. New clothes. Protein shakes in the fridge. Trying to feel like myself again, she said. I supported it. Paid for training sessions. Around the same time, she upgraded her phone. I helped transfer everything. The old one ended up in the junk drawer. I tossed it there myself. I forgot about it. Until last week. The power flickered during a storm. I went digging for a flashlight and found the old phone under takeout menus and dead batteries. I don't know why I picked it up. Maybe I already knew. The screen lit up. No passcode. I sat at the counter. Told myself I was just looking. Photos. Recipes. Old pictures of us. Then I opened her messages. Most were normal. Then I saw a name. Jason. The thread was short because most of it had been deleted. But not all. Her, he thinks I'm at yoga. Him. You looked insane in that dress last night. Her, stop. I almost got caught texting you. My stomach tightened. The timestamps lined up with when the gym started. With the late errands. With the new lingerie I assumed was for me. The last message left on that phone was from 5 weeks before she upgraded. Him, are you sure you can keep doing this? Her, I don't know. I can't lose him. But I can't lose you either. I read that line twice. Then again, I didn't confront her that night. She was upstairs watching TV. I stood in the kitchen holding the phone and felt something settle inside me. Not rage. Clarity. I went upstairs. She smiled when she saw me. You okay? She asked. Just tired. I lay awake next to her while she slept. The next day was her birthday. 36. We had dinner plans with both families. She was getting ready when I came home early. Music playing. Hair half curled. You're early, she said. I kissed her cheek. We need to talk. She froze. Just for a second. I walked into the kitchen, pulled the old phone from the drawer, and set it on the counter. Who's Jason? Her face drained. She sat down slowly. It's not what you think, she said. Don't, I replied. It was over, she whispered. It's over. When did it start? Last winter. How long? For months. Did you sleep with him? Silence. Yes. The house felt too quiet. Where? Hotels. Once at his apartment. Do you love him? I don't know. That was enough. I went upstairs and pulled a suitcase from the closet. She followed me, crying. Michael, please. Not today. Today. I said. You're worried about today? It's my birthday. I dropped the suitcase on the bed. Pack a bag. You're kicking me out. Yes. We can fix this. A 4-month mistake? I was hurting, she said. We were hurting. So you cheated? I felt invisible, she whispered. After everything, you shut down. You could have left, I said. You could have divorced me. She cried harder. Pack, I repeated. She moved slowly. Clothes. Laptop. Toiletries. Every zipper closing sounded final. At the door, she stopped. Don't tell everyone, she said. Not tonight. You should have thought about tonight when you were texting him. She looked small standing there. Where am I supposed to go? That stopped being my responsibility 6 months ago. She left. I locked the door. Then I sat at the kitchen table. Her birthday cake was still in the fridge, and my phone was already buzzing. My phone started vibrating before she even reached the end of the driveway. First my sister, then my mom, then Emily's sister. I let it ring. I already knew what the story would be. I kicked her out on her birthday. I embarrassed her. I blindsided her. No one would ask why. They'd ask how I could. I poured myself a glass of water and sat at the kitchen table, staring at the cake in the fridge through the open door. Strawberry frosting. Her favorite. The phone buzzed again. Finally, I answered my mom. Michael, she said, already crying. What did you do? I leaned back in the chair. She tell you? She said you threw her out. On her birthday. I let that sit. Did she tell you why? Silence. She said you've been distant for months. My mom continued carefully. That you just snapped. Of course she did. Mom, I said steady. She's been sleeping with another man. Dead quiet. That's not funny. I'm not joking. Another pause. Longer this time. Are you sure? She asked. That question. Yes, I said. I saw the messages. Mom exhaled slowly. I could hear her shifting, probably sitting down. Well, people make mistakes, she said. I closed my eyes. For months, I replied. Hotels. Lies. It wasn't a one-night slip. She said it's over. She also said she doesn't know if she loves him. Mom didn't answer that. She was hurting. Michael, she tried again. You both were. That fertility stuff. She could have left. I cut in. She could have divorced me. You don't just throw away a marriage. I stared at the blank wall in front of me. She did, I said quietly. I just closed the door. Mom started crying harder. You don't kick your wife out like that. It looks bad. Looks bad. That's when something inside me cooled off completely. I'm not staying married so it looks good. I said. She can stay with her sister. I hung up before she could say more. Emily texted around 9 p.m. Please, can we talk without yelling? I didn't reply. 5 minutes later. I'm at Megan's. I didn't tell her everything. Of course she didn't. Another message. We can do counseling. I'll cut him off completely. I already blocked him. Blocked him. Like that fixed it. I typed one sentence. Send me his full name. 3 dots appeared instantly. Why? Because I'm filing for divorce, Emily. And I want everything documented. The dots disappeared. No response. The next morning I called a lawyer. His name was David Rosen. Mid-50s. Calm voice. Direct. You have proof? He asked. Yes. Save everything. Screenshots. Backups. Don't delete a single message. I won't. He paused. Do you want to reconcile? No. No hesitation. Then we move quickly, he said. File before narratives start shifting. Narratives. He didn't have to explain that word. I'd already seen it happening. By noon, my sister had posted a vague status about men who abandon strong women when things get hard. No names. Didn't need them. Comments flooded in. Heart emojis. She deserves better. Some men can't handle accountability. I watched it quietly. I didn't comment. Emily called that afternoon. I let it go to voicemail. Her voice sounded thin. I never meant to hurt you like this. It just happened. You stopped seeing me, Michael. You stopped touching me unless it was about trying for a baby. I felt like a failure in our own house. I sat on the couch and listened twice. She wasn't yelling. She wasn't defensive. She was building a story. And in her version, we both failed. I replayed the message again. You stopped seeing me. I thought about the nights I held her while she cried after doctor appointments. The mornings I made coffee and left it on her nightstand when she didn't want to get up. The way I paid for every treatment without blinking. Invisible. That word sat wrong in my chest. 3 days later, she came by to get more of her things. I stayed in the kitchen. Didn't help. She walked in slowly, like a guest. Hi, she said. I nodded. She looked thinner. Or maybe just smaller. I blocked him, she said again. I swear. Does he know you're here? She blinked. What? Does he know you're here trying to save your marriage? Her jaw tightened. It's not like that. It was exactly like that. She flinched, but didn't argue. I'll sign whatever you want, she whispered. I didn't think you'd throw me away. I looked at her. I didn't, I said. You stepped out. I closed the door. Tears rolled down her face. I was scared, she said. What if we never had kids? What if this was it? So you found someone else? I needed to feel wanted. That line almost made me laugh. You were, I said quietly. You just wanted it from someone new. She didn't answer. She packed the rest of her clothes in silence. At the door, she stopped. You're really done? She asked. Yes. No anger. No shouting. Just truth. She nodded once, like she finally believed it. Then she left again. That night, my brother called. You're moving fast, he said. I'm moving correctly. She says you've been cold for a long time. I leaned back in my chair. You believe that? He hesitated. I think marriages are complicated. They are, I agreed. Affairs aren't. Silence. She's humiliated, he said finally. I stared at the dark window. So am I. He didn't have a response for that. A week later, the divorce papers were drafted. Emily hadn't contested anything yet, but something felt unfinished. I went back to that old phone one more time, scrolled through the deleted gaps. I noticed something I hadn't before. A shared photo album link. It wasn't labeled with his name, just a random string of letters. I opened it. Dozens of pictures loaded. Hotel rooms. Mirrors. Her. And him. Smiling. Close. Not ashamed. The timestamps told a different story than 4 months. It wasn't 4. It was almost 8. I sat there staring at the screen, the weight of that number pressing into my chest. 8 months. Half a year of lies. And suddenly I understood why my whole family thought I was a monster. Because she hadn't told them the whole truth. And neither had I. But I was about to. I didn't sleep the night I found the photo album. 8 months. Not 4. 8 months of hotel mirrors and soft smiles and private jokes. 8 months of coming home to me. I didn't cry. I didn't punch a wall. I just sat there in the dark with that old phone in my hand and felt something finish breaking. In the morning, I called my lawyer. There's more, I said. How much more? Twice as long as she admitted. He didn't sound surprised. They always minimize. I forwarded him everything. Screenshots. Dates. The album link. Good, he said. You stay quiet. Let her talk. I didn't stay quiet for long. 2 days later, my sister called again. This time she wasn't crying. She was angry. Did you seriously threaten her with lawyers? She demanded. I hired one. She's devastated. I stared at the ceiling. She was busy. That's not fair. 8 months, I said calmly. Silence. What? She asked. 8 months. Not 4. Another pause. I could almost hear her recalculating. Well, she said it started after New Year's. It started before Thanksgiving. She didn't answer. I let the silence stretch. I have proof, I added. Her voice shifted. Softer now. Michael, why are you digging like this? Because I needed to know if the person I married ever really existed. Because I needed the truth to stop moving under my feet. Because if I didn't anchor it down, I'd start believing her version. Because I'm not crazy, I said. 3 days later, Emily called asking to meet. In public, she said. Please. We met at a quiet coffee shop on the edge of town. She looked tired. No makeup. Hair pulled back. I noticed she wasn't wearing her ring. I didn't know why that stung. We sat across from each other in a booth. I didn't lie. She started immediately. I just didn't remember exact dates. 8 months isn't a rounding error. She winced. It wasn't consistent, she said. It wasn't like that the whole time. Were you sleeping with him while we were trying to conceive? Her eyes filled. That's not fair. It's a question. She looked down at her hands. Yes. That word didn't explode. It just sank. I nodded slowly. Do you know if you were pregnant at any point? I asked. She looked up sharply. What? I'm asking because you don't get to rewrite biology too. Tears slid down her face. I got tested, she whispered. When I ended it. I wasn't. When I ended it. So she ended it. Not because she felt guilty. Because something changed. What happened? I asked quietly. He wanted more, she said. He said he was tired of being second. Second. I almost smiled at that. So he left? No, she said. I did. I leaned back. So let me understand this, I said. You didn't come clean because you felt remorse. You came back because he asked for more. That's not fair. It's accurate. She covered her face with her hands. I was drowning, she said. You were so focused on staying strong. On being steady. I felt like I was grieving alone. You think I wasn't grieving? You never talked about it. I stared at her. You never asked. That hung between us. For a moment, I saw something real in her face. Not manipulation. Not strategy. Just regret. I didn't mean to destroy everything, she said. You didn't mean to get caught. She flinched. That's cruel. It's true. When we left the coffee shop, she reached for my arm. I stepped back. That movement hurt her more than anything I'd said. You won't even touch me, she whispered. Not anymore. She stood there in the parking lot, looking at me like I'd become someone else. Maybe I had. I loved you, she said. I know, I replied. That was the worst part. I believe she did. In her way. But love without loyalty is just attachment. And attachment is selfish. The divorce paperwork was filed the following week. That's when the real shift happened. Her tone changed. Not publicly. Not on social media. Privately. Her lawyer contacted mine with questions about asset division. About the house. About my business accounts. We had a prenup. She'd signed it without hesitation 7 years earlier. Now she wanted to review interpretations. David called me. She's testing leverage, he said. Nothing unexpected. She cheated. Yes, he said calmly. And now she's protecting herself. I sat in my office after that call, staring at the framed photo on my desk. Our wedding day. She looked radiant. I looked proud. I took the frame and put it face down. A few days later, my mom showed up at my house unannounced. I opened the door, and she pushed past me before I could say anything. You're humiliating her, she said immediately. She humiliated herself. She's a mess, Michael. I closed the door quietly. She should have thought about that. Mom looked around the house like it was foreign territory. You were always so rigid, she said. So black and white. I'm consistent. You're unforgiving. I met her eyes. If I had done this to her, what would you call me? She didn't answer. She made a mistake, Mom said finally. No, I replied. She made a pattern. Mom's shoulders sagged. She says you were distant for years. Did she tell you she was sleeping with him while we were in fertility treatment? That stopped her. Her face changed. She didn't say that. I know. Mom sat down slowly at the kitchen table. She's scared, she whispered. So am I said. That was the first honest thing either of us had admitted. Mom looked at me for a long time. Are you absolutely sure there's no way back? I didn't hesitate. Yes. She nodded once, like something settled inside her too. Then she left. That night, alone in the house, I walked into the bedroom we used to share. The bed looked too large. The closet too empty on one side. I stood there in the quiet and felt the weight of it. 7 years. Gone. But what kept circling in my mind wasn't the cheating. It wasn't even the lies. It was that message. I can't lose him. But I can't lose you either. She didn't want to choose. So I chose for her. And for the first time since I found that phone, the anger started fading. Not because I forgave her, but because I realized something colder. If I hadn't found that old phone, she would still be here. Still smiling. Still trying for a baby. Still telling me she loved me. And I would have never known who I was actually married to. That thought didn't make me sad. It made me quiet. Because the next move I was about to make wasn't about revenge. It was about truth. I didn't rush the next step. That's what everyone expected me to do. Blow up. Post screenshots. Send the album to her sister. Burn everything down. I didn't. I waited. Emily kept trying to control the narrative quietly. She wasn't naming me publicly, but she was planting sympathy everywhere else. Mutual friends stopped reaching out. Invitations dried up. One guy from church sent me a message that said, "Marriage takes humility on both sides." I didn't respond. Because humility wasn't the issue. Truth was. The first real crack showed up a month after we filed. Her lawyer pushed harder on the business accounts. Requested documentation going back 3 years. Claimed Emily had supported my growth and deserved consideration beyond the prenup. I sat in David's office reading the request. She wants leverage, he said again. She wants security, I replied. Same thing. I stared at the paperwork. Does she know I have the full album? I asked. He looked at me carefully. Have you told her? No. Good. That night, Emily called. Not crying. Not apologizing. Calm. I don't want this to get ugly, she said. It already is. I mean legally. I waited. My lawyer thinks the prenup might be open to interpretation. Of course he does. I gave 7 years to this marriage. And I gave 7 years of loyalty. Silence. I don't want to fight you, she said. Then don't. You're being cold again. I almost smiled at that. I'm being clear. She exhaled slowly. What do you want, Michael? There it was. What do I want? Yes. I want the truth, I said. And I want you to stop rewriting it. I haven't. You told my mother it started after New Year's. She froze. How do you know that? Because she told me. Silence stretched between us. You said 4 months, I continued. It was 8. Her voice dropped. Why are you digging like this? Because I deserve accuracy. She didn't respond. You were with him while we were in fertility treatment, I said quietly. Did you tell anyone that? Her breathing changed. No. I know. 2 days later, I made the move. Not on social media. Not in a group text. I invited both families over. Mine and hers. I didn't explain why. Just said we needed to clear the air before this got uglier. They showed up tense. My mom sat stiff on the couch. Her sister kept glancing at Emily. My brother avoided eye contact. Emily walked in last. She looked at me like she already knew something was coming. We all sat in the living room. No one spoke. I stood. I'm not here to fight, I said. I'm here because the story floating around isn't complete. Emily's jaw tightened. This didn't start in January, I continued. It started in October. Her sister looked at her sharply. It wasn't 4 months. It was 8. My brother frowned. What are you talking about? I picked up the old phone from the coffee table. I have everything, I said. Messages, photos, dates. Emily stood up quickly. Michael. No, I said calmly. You don't get to manage this. Her face flushed red. I didn't show them every picture. I didn't need to. I showed timestamps. Hotel receipts that matched calendar entries. The shared album link. The silence in that room was heavier than any argument. Her sister turned slowly toward her. Is that true? Emily didn't answer. That's not fair, she whispered instead. I nodded once. That's what I thought. My mom looked at me like she was seeing something new. Not anger. Not cruelty. Just control. You said he abandoned you, I said to Emily quietly. You didn't say you were sleeping with someone else while asking me to pray with you for a baby. Her sister gasped. Emily started crying. I was confused, she said. I was hurting. Then say that, I replied. Say you betrayed me. Don't say I abandoned you. The room shifted. You could feel it. Not toward me. Away from her. That was the moment she realized it. This wasn't a messy breakup. It was exposure. After everyone left, she stayed behind. She stood in the doorway of what used to be our living room. You didn't have to do that, she said. Yes, I did. You wanted to punish me. No, I said. I wanted balance. Her eyes were swollen. You always need things balanced. I need them honest. She looked around the house slowly. You think this makes you strong? She asked. No, I said. It makes me done. She swallowed. You could have handled this privately. I tried. You kept adjusting the story. She didn't argue. Because she knew it was true. At the door, she stopped. You're not even angry anymore, she said quietly. I looked at her. I said. Now I'm just clear. She nodded slowly. And for the first time since this started, she looked small. Not manipulative. Not strategic. Just small. Then she left. A week later, her lawyer backed off. The prenup stood. No more requests about my business. No more reinterpretations. The divorce would proceed clean. That should have felt like victory. It didn't. It felt quiet. That night, I walked through the house alone again. The walls didn't echo the way they used to. I stood in the kitchen where I'd found the phone. Thought about how close I came to never knowing. How easy it would have been to keep living in that version of my life. Trying for a baby. Planning vacations. Smiling in photos. While she was somewhere else. The scariest part wasn't the betrayal. It was how normal everything looked while it was happening. And as I stood there, I realized something else. I didn't just close the door on her. I closed it on the version of myself that would have tolerated half-truths just to keep the peace. The divorce hearing was set for 6 weeks out. 6 weeks until it was official. 6 weeks until my name was no longer tied to hers. I thought that would be the end. But 3 days later, Jason called me. When Jason called me, I almost didn't answer. Unknown number. Out-of-state area code. Something in me already knew. I let it ring once more. Then I picked up. Michael. His voice was calm. Too calm. Yes. This is Jason. I leaned back in my chair. I figured. Silence stretched for a second. I'm not calling to fight, he said. That's good. Because I'm not interested. I just think there are things you should know. I almost laughed. You've already done enough, I said. Whatever you think I need to hear won't improve your position. It's not about me. It's always about you, I thought. Then what? I asked. Another pause. She didn't tell you everything. I closed my eyes. I have the album, I said. I have the timestamps. That's not what I mean. My jaw tightened. Say it. She told me she was leaving you. The room went very still. She said the marriage was basically over, he continued. That you were staying together for appearances. For family. That's interesting, I said evenly. Because we were actively trying to have a child. He didn't respond immediately. She said you didn't touch her anymore, he added. That you treated her like a roommate. And you believed that? I believed what she told me. Of course he did. Did she tell you she was still sleeping with me? I asked quietly. Silence. I didn't think so. His breathing shifted. She said she felt trapped. She wasn't, I said. The door was never locked. There was something different in his tone now. Less confident. She told me she ended it because she felt guilty, he said. But that's not true. No, I replied. She ended it because you wanted more. Another silence. So she told you that, he muttered. Yes. He let out a slow breath. She asked me not to contact her, he said. Blocked me everywhere. But then after you exposed everything to the families, she called. That surprised me. She called you. I asked. Yes. What did she want? She said you'd ruined her life. I almost smiled. She asked if we could try again, he added. Said you were being vindictive. The word didn't hit me the way it would have weeks ago. It just floated there. And? I asked. I told her no. That wasn't the answer I expected. Why? Because if she could lie to you that long, he said quietly, she could lie to me. For the first time since he called, I believed him. We sat in silence for a moment. I'm not your enemy, he said. I made my own mistakes. But I didn't know the full story. You knew enough, I replied. That's fair. He hesitated. I'm not calling to clear my name, he said. I'm calling because she's telling people you were emotionally abusive. There it was. She's saying you controlled her, he continued. That you were cold. That she was scared of you. My chest tightened. She never once told me that, he added. Not until recently. Of course she didn't. Thanks for the information, I said. That's it. That's it. You're not going to defend yourself? I thought about that. No, I said finally. I don't need to. He didn't understand. Most people wouldn't. We hung up. 3 days later was the hearing. Emily stood on the other side of the courtroom, composed. Hair done. Neutral expression. She didn't look at me. The judge reviewed the prenup. Confirmed division of assets. Confirmed no children. Confirmed voluntary filing. 7 years reduced to paperwork and signatures. Is there any possibility of reconciliation? The judge asked. No, I said. Emily hesitated half a second. Then no. That was it. A stamp. A signature. Final. Outside the courthouse, she stopped me. Can we talk? She asked. 1 minute. She nodded. I never said you were abusive, she said quickly. I said you were distant. I know what you've been implying. She looked tired. I had to explain something, she whispered. Everyone kept asking. So you painted me colder than I am. You were cold. I was steady, I corrected. She flinched at that. Do you hate me? She asked. I considered it. No. That surprised her. You should, she said softly. Probably. Silence. I did love you, she said again. I know. She looked at me like she wanted something more. Anger. Tears. A reaction. I didn't give it. I hope you find what you're looking for, I said. That wasn't kindness. It was release. She nodded once. Then she walked away. That night, the house felt different. Not empty. Just mine. I opened every window. Let air move through rooms that had held too much silence. I took the wedding photo out of the drawer where I'd shoved it weeks ago. I didn't tear it up. I didn't burn it. I put it in a box with other things that belonged to a different version of my life. Then I closed the lid. My phone buzzed. A message from my sister. I'm sorry. I didn't know everything. I stared at it for a long time. Then I replied. You didn't ask. A few minutes later, my mom called. I was wrong, she said quietly. About you. I leaned against the kitchen counter. I know, I replied. You're not a monster. No, I said. I'm not. When we hung up, I stood there in the quiet. No shouting. No chaos. Just space. For weeks, I thought kicking her out on her birthday would define me. That it would make me the villain in someone else's story. Maybe it does. But I know what I found. I know what I saw. And I know this. If I hadn't opened that junk drawer that night, I'd still be living in a lie. Instead, I'm living alone. And for the first time in a long time, I feel steady again.